now presents a reading of articles and features from USA Today for Wednesday, August 12th. Your reader for this hour is Sharon. We're going to start with kind of a sad story. Soar free, beloved bald eagle Jackie dies. Big Bird was a star on the California Nest Cam. It's by Shaman Shafiq from USA Today and is accompanied by a picture of Jackie, the famous bald eagle of Big Bear Lake in Southern California, who was treated at the Ojai Raptor Center, which provided the photo. Beloved bald eagle Jackie died while rehabilitating at a wildlife center in California after being rescued following an apparent altercation with two subadult eagles. It is with profound sadness that we share that patient 26519 passed away in the early hours of this morning following more than 3 weeks of intensive medical care, Ojai Raptor Center, where Jackie has been receiving treatment for almost a month, said in an August 10th update. Our team is heartbroken. It has been an extraordinary privilege to care for her. In the same update, the Ojai Raptor Center said that Jackie's remains had been transferred into the care of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. The bald eagle, known for appearing on Big Bear Valley's Big Bear Eagle Nest Cam, was critically ill and unstable before she died, the center had said on August 9th. Friends of Big Bear Valley, which manages the Eagle Nest Cam, mourned Jackie's loss in a post on Facebook, telling the Eagles fans to be kind to yourself, to others, to the FOBBV team, and to those at the Ojai Raptor Center. Soar free, Jackie, the center said. It all started after Jackie was seen in an altercation with two subadult eagles on July 17th. While Jackie was able to defend herself, she did not get far and was seen on the ground near Dana Point Park. She was rescued and taken to Ojai Raptor Center about 170 miles from her home in the Big Bear Valley, which she shared with her long-term partner, Shadow. Initial blood work had indicated Jackie was experiencing severe anemia and inflammation affecting the kidneys, the center said on July 21st. Vets have begun supportive treatment based on the information available with guidance from wildlife professionals. Over the next few weeks, Jackie underwent rigorous testing and treatment as vets worked round the clock to diagnose her illness. Ojai Raptor Center, in its last update on Jackie's health, said her packed cell volume had fallen below 6% on August 8, but rose to 9% on August 9th. The past 24 hours have been incredibly difficult, the center said, adding that her condition remained extremely serious. Her care and condition are being closely evaluated by a collaborative team that includes 9 veterinarians, together with representatives from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the center said. Despite showing small but encouraging signs of recovery, Jackie's anemia had worsened, with her latest blood work bringing difficult news, Ojai Raptor Center said on August 3rd. Jackie's packed cell volume had dropped to 13%, which meant her anemia had worsened. Jackie, on July 20th, also received a life-saving blood transfusion from another eagle and underwent oxygen therapy as part of her treatment. She was also treated for rodenticide toxicity, which occurs when humans or non-target animals ingest rat or mouse poisons, although caregivers do not believe that was the primary cause of her illness. Several other possible causes, such as lead poisoning, cancer, and metal objects, were ruled out through extensive testing. On July 23rd, Wildlife agencies said test results showed Jackie did not have lead poisoning, a common killer among bald eagles and other birds. Jackie was the first eaglet to be hatched in Big Bear Valley in 2012, USA Today previously reported. Her parents, Ricky and Lucy, became the first known adult eagles who decided to stay in Big Bear Valley, which until then had only been a part-time winter destination for the species. Big Bear resident Sandy Steers, who also was the executive director of Friends of Big Bear Valley, lived half a mile from where Jackie was born and watched her grow up from a distance. It was Steers and a U.S. Forest Service employee who got the idea to put up a webcam. It took 2 years to raise the $10,000 needed to buy and install the solar-powered camera, which sits 120 feet off the forest floor. Jackie lived in relative eagle obscurity before the webcam was installed. You could see her practicing flying. You could see them, Lucy and Ricky, bringing her food, Steers had told USA Today. I stood there for hours every day just watching because I was fascinated. That got me hooked, and then I just wanted to see more. Steers described Jackie as very determined, very serious, and she expects to get her way. Jackie found her first romance in 2017 when she mated with an eagle named Mr. B. The couple's eggs hatched in 2012, and while one of the eaglets died after a 24-hour rainstorm, the other, named Stormy, survived and left Big Bear that summer. However, Mr. B and Jackie's romance did not last long, and soon after Shadow swooped in, chased off Mr. B, and stole Jackie's heart. The two had been together ever since. Friends of Big Bear Valley said Jackie's ill health marked a season of uncertainty for the beloved eagle family. This season certainly has had its ups and downs, sad times and good times, the group said on August 5th. Even so, Jackie, Shadow, Sandy, and Luna brought us immense amounts of joy. As Jackie received treatment, her eaglets, Sandy and Luna, appeared to have taken off for the wild. They were last seen on the cam on July 23rd. Jackie's partner, Shadow, is on his summer vacation, the group said. He has been and will likely continue to be seen on camera occasionally. However, millions of fans were worried about the power couple's fate after a new young female, believed to have attacked Jackie before her hospitalization, was seen perched with Shadow. Many on social media have taken to calling the new eagle Jolene after the famed female rival of the Dolly Parton song of the same name. Though wildlife professionals and others take umbrage with the nickname, they can't deny her interest in Shadow. She's obviously gravitating towards him, said Jenny Bossard, a spokeswoman for Friends of Big Bear Valley. Maybe something deep inside her says, I want to be by this eagle. He's pretty awesome. Experts, however, believe Shadow isn't likely to be ready to move on from his life with Jackie. The pair were together for nearly a decade and shared 8 eaglets. Contributing writers are Michelle Del Rey, Anthony Thompson, Amanda Lee Myers, and Julia Gomez. Our next article is entitled Death Toll Rises as Colombia Hit by 7.4 Magnitude Quake. According to authorities, at least 164 people are confirmed dead. The article is by Janine Santucci from USA Today and is accompanied by a picture of a man as he walks past a damaged building following an earthquake in Pieri, Colombia on August 10th. The picture is by Juan David Duque out of Reuters. The death toll was rising as rescuers entered their second day of searching for survivors in the rubble after a powerful magnitude 7.4 earthquake struck Colombia. The earthquake hit just after 7:30 a.m. local time on August 10th with an epicenter near San Jose del Palmar in western Colombia, and it was felt in cities around the country. According to the U.S. Geological Survey, an estimated 10.5 million people felt the quake. Multi-story buildings and homes tumbled, trapping people underneath. At least 164 people have been confirmed dead, according to authorities in multiple cities. Scores more were injured. Police, soldiers, and volunteers have been combing through wreckage. Overnight, they used excavators and sometimes their bare hands to search for survivors. Death toll continues rising. At least 85 people have been confirmed dead in Cali, about 150 miles south of where the earthquake was centered. Mayor Alejandro Ador said more than 800 people were injured. In Pereira, capital of the Colombian state of Risaralda, authorities said 66 were dead. And Chaco, the sparsely populated province where the earthquake was recorded, 13 were reported dead. Teams hope for survivors. People remain trapped in debris, and teams have been working through the night looking for survivors. Idor, the mayor of Cali, said in a post to social media that at least 25 people were trapped under a collapsed building. He posted video to social media showing the response at sites with the mangled remains of buildings in the streets. Responders won't rest until everyone is found, he said. Carmen Yasmin Garcia, age 43, a Cali resident volunteering with rescue teams, told Reuters on August 10th that her group helped free 7 people from one collapsed building, but they were still working to free 4 people and a dog trapped within. A moment ago there was scratching, but now we can't hear anything. We still have faith that the dog is alive and we can get these people out, Garcia told Reuters. We need people with sticks and spades. The more people lending a hand, the better. Our next article is entitled Funeral Home Probed After 56 Decaying Bodies Found. It's by Janine Santucci from USA Today. Authorities are investigating after human remains at a Chicago funeral home were allegedly found decaying in an unrefrigerated area infested with rodents. The Cook County Medical Examiner's Office said it was working to identify and determine the condition of the remains of 56 deceased people after it was notified about the improper storage conditions at the South Chicago Chapel Funeral Home. The remains were found in various states of decomposition, the Medical Examiner's Office said in a statement on August 6th. The license of the funeral home's owner was suspended, the Medical Examiner's Office said in an update on August 7th. State business records show that Johanna Morgan was listed as the incorporator of the funeral home, while Clark Morgan was listed as president. Johanna Morgan's license as a funeral director and embalmer was suspended by the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulation. The regulatory body said the suspension was due to her allowing multiple decedents to be kept in an unrefrigerated area with deplorable conditions, including rodent infestation causing decomposition and maggot infestation of the bodies. Clark Morgan had a license as a funeral director and embalmer intern registered with the regulatory body, which was revoked in 2024. Morgan was also fined $10,000 based on practicing as a funeral director and embalmer intern on an expired license and unprofessional conduct, records show. USA Today has reached out to the South Chicago Chapel through an email listed for Clark Morgan on an archived version of its website, which was down August 8th. According to reports from CBS News Chicago, Clark Morgan previously operated Heights Crematory in Chicago, which was shut down last year by Illinois State Controller Susana Mendoza. At the time, Mendoza said that remains of deceased people at the crematorium were being stored in inoperable refrigerated trailers or coolers, and that bodies were stacked in improper conditions. Mendoza said in June of 2025 that revoking Haight's crematory license would ensure its owners will never operate a crematorium in the state of Illinois again. USA Today has reached out to Mendoza's office for comment on the new allegations. It's really disgusting and upsetting to find out they're still at it, and I had said back then these folks will figure out a way to circumvent the system, Mendoza told CBS Chicago after the latest news came out this week. I don't know how there's not like a microscope on this entity. You know, the Morgans literally run a house of horrors in their businesses, she told the outlet, adding the funeral homes are under the purview of a different agency. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Nagar Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 16 minutes after the hour. Our next article is entitled Poll Finds Big Shift on Force by ICE. More independents are saying it's gone too far. The article is by Christopher Kahn out of USA Today. Months of immigration enforcement controversies have taken their toll, and new polling shows it could be a problem for Republicans heading into the midterms. About 8 in 10 independent voters say USA Immigration and Customs Enforcement has used too much force in its nationwide operations, according to a poll from YouGov, which sampled 1,000 voters in late July. It's a striking increase from 2025, when polls showed independents more divided on the issue. The poll, commissioned by the Vera Institute of Justice, a nonprofit working to end mass incarceration, was conducted shortly after ICE officers shot and killed 2 immigrants during traffic stops in Maine and Texas over the span of 6 days in July. An earlier YouGov poll, which was conducted before the 2 shootings, found that most independents, 62%, believe ICE has gone too far. Other polls from YouGov, AP NORC, and the Civic Health and Institutions Project found that only a fraction of independent voters support ICE's handling of immigration enforcement. The data comes month ahead of the midterms, as Republicans are seeking to hold on to a narrow majority in both chambers of Congress. Several races are expected to be close and could be decided by independent voters, a group whose support has grown increasingly vital in recent elections. The Department of Homeland Security, in an emailed statement, cited June polling data showing 80% of Americans support deporting immigrants who are here illegally and have committed crimes. The statement urged cities to cooperate with ICE and praised the work of immigration officers. Immigration was one of the top issues that led Republicans to win the presidency and gain full control of Congress in 2024. Amid mounting frustrations over the Biden administration's handling of the U.S. southern border. But high-profile enforcement raids and multiple deadly shootings over the last year have eroded support for a central part of President Donald Trump's immigration agenda, political scientists and strategists said. But not all of the president's actions on immigration are as unpopular as ICE's interior enforcement. The plunging number of border crossings into the United States is considered a success among at least half of all Americans, including independents, polls show. And Republicans overall maintain a sizable advantage on which party voters believe would do a better job at handling border security. But with the midterms less than 3 months away, any uptick in disfavor for ICE among independents could spell trouble for Republicans seeking to win over voters from the center, experts said. This is a big vulnerability, said Matthew Grossman, a political scientist and professor of public policy at Michigan State University. An issue that Republicans had in previous elections is now working to their disadvantage. In a statement, National Republican Congressional Committee spokesperson Mike Marinella said GOP candidates running in the midterms will continue to embrace Trump's record on immigration and draw a contrast with the Biden administration. President Trump secured the border and is finally enforcing the law after 4 years of Biden-Harris chaos that let fentanyl and criminals pour into this country and cost American lives in every district, he said. Democrats spent 4 years defending open borders and calling it compassion, while Americans paid the price. Republicans will keep drawing that contrast in every district because voters haven't forgotten what lawlessness looks like. The public mood has changed. Trump was elected with a promise to carry out the largest deportation operation in U.S. history. On the campaign trail, his supporters held signs that read, "Mass deportation now." And in a 2024 interview with Time magazine, Trump said he wanted to deport probably 15 million and maybe as many as 20 million people. Polls conducted in the months before the 2024 election saw Trump leading Biden by roughly 20 points on immigration and border security. Some polls found that for most voters, immigration was their top issue. But controversies have eroded that support. Surges of federal agents into cities such as Los Angeles, Chicago, and Minneapolis fueled mass protests, lawsuits, and widespread claims of harassment and racial profiling. In January, public outrage spiked following the fatal shootings of Alex Preddy and Renee Good by immigration officers in Minnesota. In the aftermath, immigration authorities sought to keep a lower profile, moving away from the highly visible raids that drew intense scrutiny. Republicans, meanwhile, talk less about mass deportations and more about targeted enforcement going after criminals, as well as the low number of border crossings. But protests and backlash reignited again in July after ICE agents in Texas and Maine shot and killed 2 men in less than a week. And while immigration authorities have largely halted their high-profile raids, ICE detentions have surged. A poll from the Associated Press and NORC conducted after the shootings found that 39% of adults approved of Trump's performance on immigration, down from 49% at the start of his term. According to the same poll, 3 in 10 adults approve of the way ICE is enforcing immigration laws. Among independents, 18% approved of ICE's actions. This has consequences for the campaigns, said Kyle Kondak, a political analyst who has written several books on U.S. elections. Some of the messaging that Republicans thought was effective in 2024 on immigration may not be anymore because the public mood has changed. Immigration still deeply partisan. Polls show that views on immigration largely fall along party lines, as has been the trend for more than a decade, experts said. Less than 2 in 10 Republicans say ICE has used excessive force, and most either say the agency has used about the right amount of force or not enough, according to the YouGov poll conducted in July. Democrats, meanwhile, remain firmly opposed to the immigration enforcement operations underway, with 9 in 10 saying ICE has gone too far. In primary races across the United States, immigration was one of the central issues in campaign speeches and advertisements, especially in areas that saw large amounts of enforcement actions. Some Democratic candidates who won their party's nomination have called for ICE to be abolished, including progressives in Michigan, Illinois, and New Jersey. On the Republican side, many primary candidates leaned into immigration, spending tens of millions on advertisements that mention or were solely focused on the issue, according to data from the firm AdImpact. Those in areas that have seen controversial ICE actions have walked a tightrope, criticizing some tactics while supporting popular immigration-related initiatives like enhanced border security. It's largely proved successful. On August 4th, a slate of Trump-backed Republican candidates who support the administration's immigration enforcement efforts won the GOP nomination in Washington State, Kansas, and Michigan. But, as analysts note, candidates often appeal to their party's hardline or most vocal factions in primaries before later tempering their messages. They're speaking to a different electorate in the primary than they are in the general, Grossman said. It's unclear how much of an impact immigration will have on the November elections, analysts said. The YouGov poll conducted in late June and early July found that cost of living, inflation, and the economy were the top issues for voters, not immigration, which ranked below health care policy and international military conflicts. Recent polling from Pew Research Center and Marquette Law School showed similar results. But like immigration, public support for Trump's handling of the economy and the Iran war has waned, giving Republican candidates limited options for a positive messaging strategy heading into November, analysts said. Experts suspect Republican candidates will focus their messaging on their opponents in coming months. Their current positive sign, as Republicans see it, is Democrats are nominating more extreme candidates, Grossman said, speaking about the wave of progressives who've won Democratic primaries across the country. Our next article is entitled Reports: Trump Secretly Flew Out of Turkey After Event. Catering truck used by President to from planes. It is by Michael Loria out of USA Today. President Donald Trump was secreted out of Turkey at the end of a recent international trip in an elaborate ruse involving decoy jets and a catering truck, all in an effort to avoid an Iranian assassination plot, the Washington Post and New York Times reported. In early July, Trump had flown to Turkey to attend a NATO summit aboard the new Qatari-gifted Air Force One. But once in Turkey, hostilities resumed with Iran, and Trump announced that the new jet would depart for the United Kingdom and he would fly out on the older, powder blue Air Force One. But according to new reporting by the Washington Post, the president was not on board when it departed. Instead, Trump was secretly transported off Air Force One and transferred to another military jet to fly from Turkey to the United Kingdom. The method used to conceal the president was a catering truck typically used on the tarmac to deliver food and beverages to airplanes, the Washington Post reported. Members of the White House staff and press flew aboard Air Force One, unaware that Trump had taken a separate plane for his safety, the Washington Post reported, citing a review of materials an unnamed U.S. official and another person familiar with the president's travel. The New York Times also reported the story later on the evening of August 10th. We are wheels up from Ankara as of 8:43 p.m., a White House pool reporter shared from aboard the powder blue Air Force One at the time. We have been advised to keep our window shades in the press cabin closed. See you on the other side. USA Today has reached out to the White House for comment on the ruse to leave Ankara. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 30 minutes after the hour. The article continues, why did Trump take the secret plane? The president's ruse to leave Turkey came at a point where the war with Iran was escalating. Trump, on July 8th at the NATO summit in Turkey, said he considered the U.S. fire with Iran to be over and warned of powerful strikes on Iran to come. His comments came amid a renewed U.S. bombing campaign of the Islamic Republic. In leaving the Middle East, Trump took new precautions to make it back to the United States, though the full extent of those precautions was not previously known. Asked about Trump's claimed move to ride aboard the baby blue former Air Force One jet, White House Communications Director Stephen Chang noted threats against the president. As the president has said recently, there are many enemies of America who have their sights on him, and we use every tool at our disposal, including distraction and misdirection, to address those threats, Chang said. What plane did Trump supposedly take? Trump claimed to take the old Boeing 747-200 Air Force One for the first leg of his return journey to the United States. After arriving at the Royal Air Force Mildenhall U.S. Air Force Base in Suffolk, England, it was believed Trump and crew switched back to the new red, white, and blue plane, a Boeing 747B, which they flew across the Atlantic before landing at Joint Base Andrews outside Washington early on July 9th. According to the new reports, however, Trump made the journey to England aboard a smaller Air Force C-32A. The jet had been part of the White House entourage to England and was used to fly Pentagon Chief Pete Hegseth. The Trump cabinet official boarded the plane by a typical stairway outside the plane, the Post reported. This article was contributed to by Swapna Venugopal Ramaswamy and Joey Garrison. Our next article is entitled, Before Trump, Clinton Also Took a Decoy Plane for Safety. And this article is by Susan Page from the Washington Bureau Chief of the USA Today. Donald Trump wasn't the first president to take a decoy plane during a foreign trip in the name of safety. The Washington Post has reported that Trump secretly flew from Turkey in July on a military aircraft, while the White House said he was aboard the traditional Air Force One, a step taken because of security threats from Iran. In 2000, President Bill Clinton flew from India to Pakistan in an unmarked plane that followed the traditional Air Force One. The ruse was revealed when he disembarked from the second plane for a 6-hour visit marked by extraordinary security. Before the flight, White House Press Secretary Joe Lockhart and other Clinton officials honored the tradition of keeping representatives of the White House Press Corps informed about the president's whereabouts. At the time, this reporter was president of the White House Correspondents Association and covering the trip for USA Today. Before we left Bombay, White House officials took me aside for an off-the-record conversation to discuss the extraordinary security precautions being taken. We also discussed concerns about the safety of the small group of journalists aboard the familiar Air Force One and the larger group traveling on the chartered press plane, which landed in Islamabad in advance of the White House planes. In modern times, all U.S. presidents have agreed, sometimes reluctantly, to be accompanied by a small pool of journalists when they are on the road or at public events. The system ensures that independent observers are aware of the president's whereabouts and well-being, a practice of particular importance at times of crisis. I was aboard the press plane for the flight. As far as I know, I was the only journalist who was aware of the president's plane switch. Of course, when he landed, the world realized he had switched to the unmarked plane. Our next article is entitled, Despite Critics, Trump Praises Vaccine Order. Some say kids could see more risks of diseases. The article is by Michael Loria from USA Today. President Donald Trump is hailing his new order on vaccines as a win for freedom of choice in children's future medical care. But critics are slamming the move, saying it could lead to a greater risk of diseases rarely seen for generations. Trump signed an executive order on August 10th aimed at giving Americans more choice in terms of what vaccines their children take, according to the White House. The order aims to decrease the number of vaccines children take and split vaccines that have been administered in a single shot into several shots across separate doctor's visits. Nothing bad can happen from what we're doing, Trump said. It's possible it doesn't work. I don't think that's much of a possibility, frankly. We're going to learn a lot. But critics, including elected Republican Party officials, say the new White House policy will make children less safe and will add health care costs for parents. U.S. Senator Bill Cassidy, a Louisiana Republican and physician, said the White House directive trades on a claim unsupported by science that vaccines are harmful and cause autism. Parents should listen to their children's pediatrician about vaccines rather than listening to an inaccurate executive order, Cassidy said in a statement on his official X page. This is so wrong. Health experts also criticized the plan. This upends decades of public health practice and consensus, and it's been done unilaterally without reason and without evidence, Lawrence Gostin, a global health law professor at Georgetown University, told USA Today. He added, childhood vaccines have been the greatest public health achievements in our lifetimes, and they have the best track record of any medical intervention for safety and effectiveness, and by reducing the number of vaccines and also requiring many additional doctor's visits, it's going to open up even wider gaps in immunization coverage among children. Gostin predicted that major outbreaks of measles, mumps, rubella, and other childhood diseases are inevitable and that some children will die. Trump's new delivering gold standard childhood vaccine recommendations for Americans is the White House's latest effort to change the landscape in vaccines across the country. Previous administration efforts have been blocked in court. The president told reporters in the Oval Office on August 10th that the order comes in response to claims that some vaccines are quite lethal and explosive when taken together, though he said that he does not have evidence to support such claims. Trump said the order does not force parents to limit vaccinations. Parents can still choose to give their children all of the vaccinations if they wish, Trump said on August 10th before signing the order. They will be covered by insurance. What does Trump's order call for? The White House's new executive order urges U.S. states and territories to follow a new blueprint for administering vaccines that would upend decades of public health practice. Trump's order generally aims to lower the number of vaccines children take by recommending shots be administered in separate visits, by narrowing the number of people to whom the White House recommends some vaccines, and by offering support to parents who don't want their children to be vaccinated. Among the recommendations, Trump's order calls for separating the combined measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine into separate shots that would be administered across several doctor's visits. The combination shot is widely known as the MMR vaccine. White House officials did not have an immediate answer on how federal officials would address rising medical bills resulting from additional doctor's visits. Trump earlier promised that vaccines would remain covered by insurance. Health experts prefer combination formulations, including the MMR vaccine, because they target more than one pathogen, require fewer shots, and research shows patients are more likely to complete recommended vaccine series when fewer shots are involved. It's unclear how soon the MMR separation recommendation could be implemented. The combination shot has been administered since 1971, and most vaccine makers manufacture the shot as a combination, not as individual vaccines. According to the new order, the Department of Justice will also support parents aiming to challenge in court existing public standards. White House officials said the order aims to maximize parental choice. What does the order do? The White House's order has no binding effect as law and should not be taken as a change in federal vaccine policy. According to experts, changing federal vaccine recommendations is a rigorous process based upon reviews of evidence. The Trump administration's order better serves as a blueprint for states and territories to adopt. But given the president's sway in Republican-led states, the order is expected to have a potentially broad impact, especially as the number of unvaccinated children traveling around the country rises. None of it is based in science, Peter J. Hortas, a vaccine pediatrician and scientist at Texas Medical Center, said of the White House order in a statement. Measles has already returned, and we should expect congenital rubella syndrome to follow. Pertussis also at risk, and even polio wouldn't surprise me. What impact could the order have on the spread of disease? Dorit Rice, a law professor at the University of California College of the Law, San Francisco, noted the White House recommendations come out amid ongoing measles and pertussis outbreaks. Pertussis is more commonly known as whooping cough. Did Secretary Kennedy not tell the president about the ongoing Trump-Kennedy measles and pertussis outbreaks, the deaths from them, and the fact that we will likely lose our measles elimination status on his watch, said Reese in a statement on X? Someone should tell the president about that. Measles was rare until 2025, when some 2,280 cases were seen across the country, according to Johns Hopkins. There have been nearly 2,500 cases so far in 2026. Almost all cases are reported among people who are unvaccinated or unknown to be vaccinated. According to Johns Hopkins, 2025 saw the greatest number of whooping cough cases since 2012, with 29,000. The rising number of cases comes amid falling vaccination rates. Newborns and infants are particularly vulnerable to the disease. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Nagar Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 43 minutes after the hour. Our next article comes from the Money section. It's entitled Features New Car Buyers Demand. Parking Assist. Heated seats are popular in 26. It's by Charles Singh, Nashville, Tennessean, USA Today Network. The average new vehicle price is close to $50,000 in 2026. Thousands of drivers are still buying new vehicles despite sky-high prices. But there's strong demand for advanced driver assistance, safety, and comfort features that were once considered frivolous luxuries. Some of the world's most popular automakers use long lists of standard features to create a competitive edge against rivals. As a result, modern cars come with a wide array of standard features that can make driving easier and vehicles cozier. Here are the 5 most in-demand features for new car buyers in 2026, according to a study by automotive research site Auto Pacific. Lane Change Assist is one of the most desirable new features. One of the most wanted features car buyers are looking out for in 2026 is Lane Change Assist. This feature alerts drivers when there's a vehicle on either side or approaching from the rear, using cameras and radar sensors. Lane change assist can help drivers switch lanes and avoid collisions by relying on advanced tech instead of side view mirrors. It's one of the many advanced driver assistance and safety features that are becoming standard on many new vehicles because of its utility. Some vehicles feature an advanced version of lane change assist that automatically changes a vehicle's lane when drivers signal once it's clear. Drivers want power front seats in 2026. If you've ever owned an older vehicle, you may be familiar with the experience of having to manually adjust your front seat using a metal bar under the front cushion. Pulling up on the metal bar and sliding the seat to its optimal position is a thing of the past for most drivers with brand new cars. Power front driver seats are the fourth most wanted feature new car buyers are looking for in 2026, based on study data from Auto Pacific. The feature may not be advanced compared with some other features that utilize cameras and sensors, but it can make a world of difference for some drivers who value simplicity in their daily driving routines. New car buyers want automatic emergency braking. Automatic emergency braking is another of the most desirable features for new car buyers in 2026, specifically when it's rearward. Reversing can be hazardous in busy areas like parking lots, even with backup cameras and parking sensors. Rearward automatic emergency braking causes the vehicle to immediately stop after detecting a pedestrian or object in its path while reversing. Aside from avoiding accidents, this feature can also help drivers with more precise parking in tight spots and save cars from unnecessary cosmetic damage caused by human error. Automatic emergency braking may not be comfortable, but many drivers see it as a feature that's both helpful and necessary in 2026. Parking sensors are in high demand for new car buyers. The act of parking a vehicle can be very simple, even for less experienced drivers with modern cars, because of the many safety and driver assistance features specifically designed for reversing. Front and rear parking sensors are the second most wanted feature that new car buyers are looking for in 2026. I've tested dozens of cars this year, and it's one of my personal favorite features. I enjoy front and rear parking sensors when driving brand new cars because it relieves anxiety when parking. These sensors alert drivers to obstacles and are usually mounted on bumpers. Between parking sensors and cameras, parking even the largest vehicles has become relatively easy thanks to all the visual and audio information drivers are getting from their cars. Heated seats are the most wanted car feature for new cars. Auto Pacific study concluded that the most wanted car feature new car buyers are looking for in 2026 is heated seats. The study surveyed over 19,000 licensed drivers who are considering new vehicle ownership in the next 3 years. Around 47% of the drivers who were surveyed listed heated seats as their most wanted car feature. I've tested multiple vehicles in 2026 with heated seats during a brutal northeast winter. The feature makes a difference and increases cabin comfort in low temperatures. If you're a driver who has a lengthy commute during long and cold winter months, heated seats can make driving more comfortable. Additionally, using heated seats is much more efficient than heating the entire cabin for drivers looking to save money on gas. Charles Singh is an Autos Connect reporter for the Tennessean, part of the USA Today network. Contact him at C. Singh, which is C SINGH, at Gannett.com. Our next article is also from the Money section. It is entitled Stellantis Claims New Tech Can Eliminate Turbo Lag. It's by Liam Rapalli from Detroit Free Press out of the USA Today Network. A turbocharged engine is great, but what if it could go faster, even faster? Stellantis engineers in Detroit said on August 6th that they had developed technology that can essentially eliminate turbo lag, the slight delay needed to spool mechanical turbochargers on gas-powered engines. Using a technology called eBoost Air, which has yet to reach production, Stellantis' high-performance engineers said prototype vehicles can pull 90% of a powertrain's peak torque in just 650 milliseconds. At the Connor Center on the city's east side, a private Stellantis museum that was previously the manufacturing plant where the ferocious Dodge Viper was built, engineers unveiled the technology under the hood of a Jeep Grand Cherokee, which housed an inline six-cylinder turbocharged engine fitted with the eBoost Air tech. All of the developments are preliminary, engineers said. Even the vehicle showing the new technology, the Grand Cherokee, is not available with that six-cylinder engine. Joel Baker, Stellantis' vice president of propulsion engineering, said there are no plans for this in the future yet, but he added, I can tell you, this concept, it has a lot of value in multiple engine architectures. I think this is a very viable concept. Some automakers have sought to eliminate turbo lag with electric turbos. Usually turbos are driven by exhaust that circulates through, but an electric turbo can spin the turbo blades almost instantly before the exhaust takes over. Stellantis' eBoost Air, though, is not electronically assisted in the same way. SRT engineers developed a turbo system that uses an air compressor and shutoff valve to promptly power the turbochargers and virtually eliminate turbo lag before the exhaust takes over. What we've done with this is produce a Hellcat's level of acceleration with a six-cylinder turbocharged engine, Baker said, in reference to Stellantis' popular supercharged V8 engine. All told, Baker said, it took just 7 weeks for the engineers to bring the eBoost Air from idea to testable product. That's SRT speed, another engineer shouted, while Baker was flanked by the news media's answering questions about the new turbo technology. SRT, which is an abbreviation for street and racing technology, is Stellantis' ultra-potent development arm responsible for creating the company's most ridiculous vehicles like the various Hellcats, the Jeep Trackhawk, and the Dodge Viper. In a slideshow used to unveil the new products to news media, the automaker referred to SRT as the Department of Batshit Crazy. Indeed, the automaker has given SRT engineers free rein to develop outrageous vehicles and powertrains, often on short timelines. Tom Sackelman, the head of SRT operations, said the eBoost Air concept was the product of that rapid development and cross-functional engineering. In this case, by electromechanically pre-spooling the turbochargers before exhaust energy is available, we're able to significantly improve boost response and drivability, Sackelman said. Biggest, baddest rumblebees. Stellantis also unveiled that its new muscle truck lineup of high-performance, factory-ready street trucks will come with a slew of aftermarket options through Stellantis' parts network direct connection. The automaker showed several trucks that had been upfitted to ridiculous specifications, including a Hennessy performance-made Rumblebee capable of reaching more than 1,000 horsepower. Roush Performance, long known for its collaborations with Ford Motor Company, also punched up a Ram 1500 truck, and Fox Factory, another high-performance vehicle uplifter, tuned up a Ram 2500 heavy-duty truck. Stellantis made its own tuned-up Rumblebees too. The automaker rolled out 3 black versions it calls the Dark Side Twins to show off the capabilities of the direct connection aftermarket tweaks owners could make to their trucks. The Dark Side Twins all sported black paint jobs with direct connection accents. All 3 were lowered on 24-way suspension systems, tuned with MagnaFlow exhausts, and fitted with 3-liter twin-screw superchargers. Stellantis claimed the fastest Rumblebee with the right direct connection parts could reach over 900 horsepower. Stellantis first launched the Rumblebee muscle trucks in May. The announcements come before the kickoff of Roadkill Nights, an annual event hosted by Dodge in Pontiac, Michigan, which brings in thrill seekers and car enthusiasts from across the country to participate in an all-day-long drag racing extravaganza at M1 Concourse. Dodge said that the new e-Boost Air technology will be on display at Roadkill Nights, where the brand is also expected to debut a new muscle car. You're listening to a reading of articles and features from USA Today for Wednesday, August 12th on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. We'll return for more readings after this short break. Your reading for this hour has been Sharon.
You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555.
We'll continue now with our reading of articles from today's issue of the USA Today. Your reader for this hour is David Frothingham. And the first headline on today's sports section, the USA Today, We'll continue now with our reading of articles from today's issue of the USA Today. Your reader for this hour is David Frothingham. And the first headline on today's sports section, the USA Today, it's under the Little League World Series banner, and it reads, "Going Down Memory Lane. All-Star MVP Cody Bellinger still cherishes Little League World Series experience," by John Liuzzi. Dateline is Philadelphia. When Cody Bellinger made the cross-country flight to participate in the 2007 Little League World Series, he had no clue where Williamsport was located in Pennsylvania. How about almost 2 decades later for the now New York Yankees outfielder? I still don't know, Bellinger jokingly told USA Today Sports last month. While Williamsport's exact location may still escape Bellinger, the memories haven't. The 2026 MLB All-Star Game MVP can vividly recall what he considered the 100%, no questions asked, most fun summer of his life before turning pro. To reach Williamsport, Bellinger and his team, representing Chandler, Arizona, defeated Hawaii 8-1 in the championship game of the West Region tournament in San Bernardino, California. It marked just the second time Chandler National had sent a team to the Little League World Series. Quote, "It was just so fun. It's a lot of baseball to get there," Bellinger said. "San Bernardino was cool because that was one of the nicest fields and we had a new dorm set up. That was our first time living together. I thought it was really fun. Then we got to Williamsport. It's just a sleepover with your boys for however long you're there." Cody Bellinger at the Little League World Series. The significance of reaching the Little League World Series hit Bellinger, who was coached by his dad, 2-time World Series champion Clay Bellinger, almost immediately. He said in the first inning of Chandler's opener against Maryland, the Mid-Atlantic representative, at Howard J. Lamad Stadium, when he paused in the outfield and had a holy crap realization that he had made it to Williamsport, where over 10,000 fans packed the grandstands of one of baseball's historic ballparks on top of the 30,000 plus around the berm. "I was in center field and I looked behind me and the whole berm was filled with people. I was like, this is actually crazy," Bellinger said. And then later that night, we ended up going on the ESPN Baseball Tonight set and had a microphone on my face. The whole thing was just wild. Bellinger hit the ground running in that opener against Maryland as he went 4 for 5 at the plate with 3 runs and 3 RBIs, 2 of which came on an opposite field 2-run homer. "I was really nervous at my first at bat," Bellinger recalled. "I ended up hitting a single, which was really nice." Chandler would finish 2-1 in Pool B play on the United States side of the bracket, which with wins coming against Mid-Atlantic and Midwest. Bellinger would hit 400 overall in the tournament to go along with 6 runs scored, 2 extra base hits, and 3 runs driven in. The Little League World Series experience. While in Williamsport, those who compete in the tournament are the town celebrities for their entire stay, as spectators who flock from all over to the small western Pennsylvania town ask players for photos and autographs. However, Bellinger said that with the tournament keeping the players secluded from the general public during their stay, it was what took place inside the Grove, the Players' Village, that made it an unbelievable experience for him. Take, for example, the ping pong games against Chinese Taipei and Canada, the latter of whom Bellinger and his teammates shared the dorms with in the Grove. And don't forget the food in the cafeteria, a vivid memory Bellinger still has today. Just remember the food room being filled with a bunch of kids from different parts of the world, Bellinger said. Then the playroom, there was ping pong and arcade games. And on top of that, just being in the dorm with the whole team and watching ESPN and seeing your highlights of the game, it was just unreal, end quote. The trip to Williamsport marked one of Bellinger's final Little League experiences as Chandler National split into 2 teams and the future MLB star moved on to club baseball the following summer. "I was sick about it because I really thought that we would have went back the next year, but they split us up," Bellinger said. "I don't even think I ended up playing Little League that next year because that literally was my last Little League experience." Bellinger said it wasn't until their loss to Georgia in the semifinals of the United States bracket that the two-time World Series champion fully understood the magnitude of the Little League World Series. We were devastated, in tears, Bellinger said. I think just as a kid, we were just having so much fun. Baseball was just added fun. For the 200-plus players who will advance to Williamsport this season and will experience the Little League World Series in its fullest over the next few weeks, Bellinger's advice is simple, and one he included in a video for the Chandler national team a few weeks back. Quote, "It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You're with boys for 2 weeks, having a sleepover, eating together and playing together," Bellinger said. "At the end of the day, you want to win, but priority number one is to enjoy it. That's it. You might not go back, and it's such a fun experience." The next headline on today's front page of the sports section reads, "Big Spender Texas Tech Banks on Overlooked" by Matt Hayes, college football columnist. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Will Hammond is playing week 1 for Texas Tech. The surgically repaired knee is good to go, and he's leading the offense in fall camp with no limitations. Now, about that other thing that the other quarterback who sucked life from the sports world for what seemed like an entire offseason. Let me ask you something, Hammond, Texas Tech's redshirt sophomore quarterback, tells USA Today Sports. If your boss hired someone to take your place, would you just sit around and let it happen? Now you know how I felt. This is your quarterback, Texas Tech, about as stand tall, don't flinch West Texas as it gets, even if he is from Austin. Hammond never understood the drama with Brendan Sorsby in the first place. Forget about Sorsby's gambling addiction, the NCAA, Texas Tech's public fight to keep him eligible, or any legalities swirling in Lubbock. You've got to be out of your mind if you think Hammond was just going to hand the starting job to the heralded transfer quarterback and meekly accept a supporting role. "I wasn't listening to anybody or anything," Hammond said. "I'm a big believer in myself, and I always have been. It wasn't going to change because they brought someone else in. So here we are, and the Black Hats of college football, the best team a couple of billionaires can buy and legally fight to the death to keep it all together, have a chance to control the narrative again, only this time with the best story in college football. From the most hated team to the quarterback you can't ignore for all the right reasons. Texas Tech did everything it could to sign Sorsby from the transfer portal, to support him when his gambling addiction was unmasked, to legally fight all comers until it was obvious that Sorsby had no path to return to college football. Meanwhile, the guy everyone forgot about, the player at the butt end of this Shakespearean tragic comedy, gets the last laugh after all. In the era of what's next in college football, of transferring to find your best deal and securing a bag, and, if it works, winning a championship, the quarterback Texas Tech recruited over is the most important player on the field again. How about that for the winter's tale? Destruction, jealousy, tragedy, and yes, a miraculous pivot that changes everything. Quote, "Our guys know Will. They've watched him handle his business all off-season," says Texas Tech coach Joey McGuire. "There will be no surprises." Translation, Hammond is the same player who last year stepped in for injured starter Baron Morton and gave the offense the ability to drive the ball downfield in the pass game and put defenses in conflict as a tough, willing runner. That is until he sustained a season-ending knee injury in late October, and Morton was forced to gut out the remainder of the season while playing with various injuries. Then the college football playoff arrived. Oregon exposed the Red Raiders' offensive weaknesses, and the Billionaires upped the ante. They were going after Sorsby, the number one player in the transfer portal, and the offense wouldn't look the same again. But a strange thing happened along the way. You get what you pay for. Texas Tech grew closer through the Sorsby drama. The locker room began to believe in each other and work with and for each other, and the next thing you know, Hammond had a team. Despite what you think or believe, players are resilient. So when spring rolled into summer and Hammond was cleared to play, the team that could be better across both lines of scrimmage is loaded at the skill positions found itself bracing the black hat role again. Even though its quarterback is riding in on a stallion story of the season. How cool would that be after everything, Will does what we all know he can do, said Texas Tech wide receiver Coy Eakin. Don't think he hasn't thought of that. Don't think they all haven't. Texas Tech was built to go deep into the CFP with one of the highest paid rosters in the game. The defensive line could be better than last season's destructive group, and there's no deeper running back room in college football. There are pieces around Hammond to make his job easier, and every significant game on the schedule will be played in Lubbock, Houston, Arizona State, Arizona, TCU. But at some point, Hammond will have to make big throws in big games and in big moments. Maybe it's on the road late against Baylor, or in the Big 12 championship game, or in the college football playoff where the Red Raiders couldn't score a lousy point last season in a blowout loss to Oregon. We have to prove when expectations are higher we can meet them, Hammond said. He may as well have been talking about his own journey and where it now stands. He's the intriguing subplot to the team America loves to hate, and one who could turn the whole thing sideways. Who doesn't pull for the overlooked and unloved, the forgotten that suddenly becomes the unforgettable? Hammond has been through this his entire career, dealt with a similar situation in high school where the overlooked became the indispensable, and now here we are again. To expect anything less than fireworks would be doing a disservice to the work we've put into this season, Hammond said. About as stand tall, don't flinch, West Texas as it gets. Next headline on today's sports section front page reads, Hall of Famers hopeful but not sold on Donald return by Jarrett Bell. Dateline is Canton, Ohio. Take it from some of the greatest. Just the thought that Aaron Donald might come out of retirement and rejoin the Los Angeles Rams is some kind of stunning. Donald, 35, a three-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year who retired after the 2023 season, is contemplating a return that would allow him to join forces with Myles Garrett, the reigning recipient of the top defensive honor. The NFL universe is buzzing for a final answer from Donald, one of the greatest defensive tackles in history. Maybe a decision will come this week, about a month shy of week 1. If I had another force on the defensive line like Aaron Donald or a Myles Garrett, I'd come back too, Bruce Smith, the NFL's all-time career sack leader, told USA Today Sports. It's not going to be easy. Taking nearly 3 years off and coming back, I'm sure there will be some challenges to work through. I wish him all the best. Fame experts react to Donald's possible return. It sure was a hot topic surrounding the christening of the Pro Football Hall of Fame's class 2026 when a record 120 Hall of Famers returned to take part in the festivities. And you can't find a better collection of experts to weigh in on expectations and relate to the potential challenge for Donald. I mean, if anybody can relate. Listen to Mean Joe Green, who knows a thing or two about playing defensive tackle at an elite level. He was the centerpiece of the Steel Curtain defense that led the Pittsburgh Steelers to 4 Super Bowl victories in the 1970s. Green loved watching Donald wreak so much havoc over the course of his 10-year career and puts him in a small number of defensive tackles who raised the bar on the position. Some of the things he did for a lot of the years, it became natural to him, Green told USA Today Sports. Then Green, 79, used his hands to add emphasis, demonstrating some of the movement that aided the techniques Donald used to collect 111 career sacks. Bam, 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 Green said as he flicked his hands. And right now, being out of it for a long time, it's hard to imagine him going back to pick it up, those finer things that made the difference for him. End quote. No, as dominant as Donald was, destined to be a first ballot selection for the Hall of Fame bust, the great ones warn that a comeback to previous form is hardly automatic. Quote, if he wants to come back, more power to him, Green said. He was at a level that no interior guy was at. That could be hard to reach again. That's mostly in the passing game, but he could handle his own in the run game because of his leverage, balance, and quickness, and his understanding of balance. He has to have some understanding of that, but that's fine-tuning now, end quote. Warren Sapp is a skeptic. The conditions seem so ripe for Donald to succeed. The Rams are a deep team installed as the preseason favorite to win Super Bowl 61. Landing Garrett was just one of the big offensive off-season moves. They obtained all-pro cornerback Trent McDuffie from Kansas City Chief, to bolster a unit that complements Sean McVay's high-powered offense, armed by reigning NFL MVP Matthew Stafford. And with Garrett, who set the NFL single-season record in 2025 with 23 sacks, and the pass-rushing tandem, including Donald, would formulate a matchup nightmare for opponents. Still, not everyone is sold. Good luck, Aaron, Warren Sapp told USA Today Sports. Sapp, a former NFL Defensive Player of the Year who led a defense that carried the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a Super Bowl 37 crown, posted 10 sacks at 34 years old in 2006. I want to see it, Sapp said of Donald's potential return. That's why we play this game. I ain't got crap to say. It's on him. I want to see it. The toughest factor attached to a potential comeback for Donald? Sapp, who posted 96.5 career sacks as a defensive tackle by typically complementing his power with uncanny quickness, glared straight ahead at his inquisitor. You've heard me before, didn't you? Sapp said. I said 2 words. Good luck. Sapp, who played 13 NFL seasons with the Bucs and Oakland Raiders, chuckled when asked if he could imagine himself coming out of retirement a couple years after leaving the game. That's why you retire, Sapp said. You make that choice. You look at the landscape. I had won 15 games in 4 years in Oakland. I was in the Jamarcus Russell era. Lane Kiffin was there. Then he let out a hearty laugh and added, I'm going home. Donald's health history a factor. Of course, no 2 bodies are alike. Donald's prowess as a workout warrior was part of his legend. He missed just 8 games over 3 seasons during his career. And even in retirement, Donald has gone viral with workout videos. Hey, he left the game unhurt, Charles Haley, the 5-time Super Bowl winner, told USA Today Sports. If it's in his heart to come back with the passion, then he should do it. It's striking that Haley mentioned heart. Passion was undeniably a calling card for Haley, a ferocious edge rusher who significantly shifted the power balance in the NFC when he was traded from the San Francisco 49ers, 2 Super Bowl rings, to the Dallas Cowboys, 3 rings, in 1992. Yet ultimately, Haley's body gave out. As much as he may have wanted to play, there was never even a hint of comeback after he finished his 13-year career. For me, it was all different because I had back issues, said Haley, who holds a share of the career record for Super Bowl sacks. So it would have been really hard for me to come back, but he left at the top of his game. He's coming back on top. Maybe. Green thinks that, given the layoff, the timing for Donald's decision is critical. He needs to be in training camp, Green said. He can't cheat his body by not being there. If he's not lining up at the position and doing it, you've got to do it and get it. You've got to do it to get it. You can't fake acting. You can't fake that. Green, who worked as a Steelers scout after his playing days, seemed wistful as he recalled the pass rush and footwork that Donald used to seal the Rams Super Bowl 56 triumph against the Cincinnati Bengals. Donald blew off the line at the snap on a 4th and 1 in the final minute to force a harried and hurried Joe Burrow incompletion. He needs to be in camp, going through the gyrations of making the movement that allowed that on the last play of the game, said Green. He doesn't have to go full speed, but he has to see it and visualize it. His mind can help him out with that. Smith, meanwhile, acknowledges Donald's last big decision on retirement. He should have never left, Smith said. He was at the peak of his career. But that was then, this is now. Suddenly, Donald could become one of the most compelling storylines of a new NFL season, and we'll all be watching. And talking crap about it, Sapp said. He gives us stuff to talk about. I appreciate it. The Rams will hope for much more than talk if Donald comes out of retirement for a Super Bowl mission and another player of legend for his remarkable career. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of the USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 19 minutes after the hour. The next headline in today's sports section is under the WNBA banner and reads, WNBA's Carrington says flagrant foul was unfortunate, by Callie Finn. Chicago Sky guard Dejounte Carrington said her flagrant foul August 8th against Indiana Fever guard Sophie Cunningham was unfortunate and unintentional. She also clarified her white privilege post on social media was not in response to being given a foul. It's just who I am. I'm never going to just let an open layup be had, Carrington told reporters August 10th before the team's road game against the Seattle Storm. You can pull clips from, I don't know, however many seasons of me making that play. Obviously, I'm just coming back from an injury, so maybe my timing or my lift wasn't where it needed to be. It was unfortunate I made contact with her in the way that I did, but it was never intentional. Carrington made her season debut for the Sky on July 30th after recovering from a foot injury. She was ejected from their game against the Fever for a flagrant foul penalty 2, which is given for unnecessary and excessive contact, according to WNBA rulebook. Carrington, who is black, fouled Cunningham from behind on a fast break layup late in the first quarter of the nationally televised game at the United Center in Chicago. Cunningham, who is white, was knocked to the court from the impact. The play was reviewed and upgraded to a flagrant 2 after officials determined Carrington wound up and followed through on the contact with Cunningham's head and neck. Cunningham recently made headlines for her comments on transgender athletes, and Carrington emphasized that had nothing to do with the on-court situation. Look, it might happen again. That's just how I play. I'm always going to go all out and try to get a stop, Carrington said. But like I said, I'm never intending to hurt somebody regardless of anything, outside noise or whatever situation may be. Carrington clarifies social media post. In the immediate aftermath of her ejection, Carrington posted white privilege on social media and tagged the Fever. Carrington then posted the date of the next Sky Fever game, which will take place in Chicago on August 23rd, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on NBC, and added a smiley face emoji. During interviews Monday, she declined to elaborate on what she meant in her social media posts. I've already spoken to the people who have the potential to have the agency to make the change that I'm hoping comes about, not just from this incident, but ones in the past, and ones that are obviously going to be coming up in the near future, probably as well, Carrington said. However, earlier Monday evening, Carrington took to social media again in response to a video featuring Emmanuel Acho, in which the former NFL linebacker said, "You can't call that foul white privilege." Carrington pushed back on Acho, writing, "I never once claimed that the assessment of the foul was white privilege. That was your assumption. Try exercising your critical thinking skills. I know you studied psych." She continued in response to Acho, who currently hosts a YouTube show on sports. Furthermore, I'm the last thing from ignorant or asinine when it comes to speaking on white privilege. Do your research on that one. I actually went to school, one of the top universities, might I add, to educate myself on this exact subject. I would never use that term as a rhetorical weapon, knowing that the historical and social weight it holds, without having the proper evidence to substantiate it. Carrington, 28, played for Stanford for 4 years and earned 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology and a Bachelor of Arts in African American Black Studies, before spending her final season of college ball at Baylor, where she earned a Master's of Education according to her LinkedIn profile and Stanford women's basketball bio on the school's athletic website. A 2021 second-round draft pick, Carrington won Most Improved Player and an All-Defensive First-Team honors in 2024. What did Carrington discuss with the WNBA? Carrington said she asked the WNBA for consistency in punishment for fouls, but did not express optimism. After the foul in the August 8th game, Cunningham got up quickly and appeared to push and swipe at Carrington. Cunningham had to be held back by her teammates as she and Carrington continued attempting to make contact with each other. I would just love consistency across the board when it comes to things like this. Whether it's the foul that I committed or whether it's the reaction, the retaliation, whether it's the foul I committed, whether it's the reaction, the retaliation, I would just love it to be consistent across the board, regardless of the name on your jersey or your skin color or the score of the game, the stakes, whatever. Carrington said during interviews Monday, I would love there just be consistency when it comes to all of that. I don't think we're there yet. That's something that I've talked to the league about as well. I think that will eliminate a lot of frustrations that we all have. I don't feel encouraged, but that doesn't mean you're not going to stop fighting for what I believe is right. That's just consistency. I think everyone would benefit from that. We're all here to play our hardest and win games. There is never malintent with any of these things. The next headline, today's sports section, reads, Fleetwood set to defend FedEx Cup playoff title trophy by Christy Ackert, and this is under the PGA Tour banner. Scotty Scheffler has won one major tournament this season and not one major. Scotty Scheffler has won one tournament this season and not one major. Still, the world number one starts the FedEx Cup playoffs on August 13th at TPC Southwind in Memphis as the favorite anyway. That is the kind of year it has been on the PGA Tour. Scheffler has 5 runner-up finishes and 11 top 5s in 17 starts and missed one cut and didn't win a major a year after winning 2. He's listed as the favorite at the plus 445 at DraftKings Sportsbook. The FedEx Cup is the Tour's season-long points race. Players collect points all year, and the standings decide who keeps playing in August. 69 of the top 70 are in the St. Jude Championship this week for a $20 million purse. Only the top 50 in points Sunday night move on to the BMW Championship outside of St. Louis. Everyone else is done for the year. Rory McIlroy is here after skipping the event a year ago. Tommy Fleetwood, who won the FedEx Cup last season, is 9th. Justin Rose, who won this tournament last August, is 46th and back to defend it. Jackson Koiven is just 21 years old and played his way into what will be his 5th tournament as pro. Here are 5 things to watch this week at TPC Southwind. Rory McIlroy is playing this year. McIlroy won the Masters in April, his 2nd green jacket in a row and the 6th major of his career. Only Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and Nick Faldo had gone back-to-back at Augusta before him. He has barely been seen since. He entered 11 tournaments that count toward the standings, but none since the British Open in July, and sits 12th in the field. He enters this tournament outside the top 10 for the first time since 2021. Nobody has won the FedEx Cup more than his 3 times. McIlroy skipped it last year because the standings let him. He had banked enough points to sit out and still advance to the next round, passing on a tournament with a $3.6 million winner check. It created some backlash. Peter Malnati, a player on the tour's policy board, said that week he was very concerned about stars sitting out. Golf writers started calling the fix the Rory rule. This year he needs to play, is confirmed in the field, and still the talk is about his sparse schedule in 2026. Jackson Koiven made it in playoffs in 5 starts as a pro. Koiven was still an amateur in June. He tied for 23rd at the U.S. Open, turned pro, missed his first cut, and then won the 3M Open in Minnesota in his 3rd start, beating Scheffler by 3 shots. 2 starts later, he was qualified for the playoffs. Only Tiger Woods made it as a fast. Only Tiger Woods made it as fast. The 21-year-old rookie also got the last playoff spot, number 70, and needed par on the final hole at the Wyndham Championship on Sunday to make it. There's more on the line for him than checks and points. Brandt Snedeker captains the U.S. team at the President's Cup in September, the match play event against a team of international players, and will make 6 picks after next week. Koiven has 2 tournaments to make a good impression. Who was not here? Keegan Bradley had made the playoffs 15 straight years. Jason Day had made 18. Both streaks ended at the Wyndham Championship in Greensboro, North Carolina. Tony Finau's run of 11 ended there too. Steve Fisk won the ISCO Championship in July, then missed the cut in each of his last 3 starts and finished 71st, 1 spot outside the field. Daniel Berger qualified 60th and did not enter. He has not said why and has not played since the British Open. So there's no alternate list, so the field just dropped to 69. Brooks Koepka returned to the PGA Tour this year from the Saudi-funded LIV Golf League and finished 93rd. 50 players survived Sunday. The top 15 points advanced to the BMW Championship next week. They also lock up spots in an all 8 signature events next season, the limited field tournaments with the biggest purses. Miss that cut and the year ends Sunday. Jordan Spieth is 54th, Sungjae Im is 53rd, Max Homa 52nd, and Harris English 51st, 27 points behind Maverick McNeely for the last spot. The winner Sunday gets 750 points. Memphis has just 2 of these tournaments left. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 30 minutes after the hour. The tour is rebuilding its schedule for 2028 around a top-level championship series of 23 to 24 events for its best-rated players, plus a lower challenger series of about 20 tournaments that feeds into it. It spent more than a week announcing which cities made the top tier. Memphis, which has hosted a tour event since 1958, was not on the list. A spot on the lower tier is still possible. Memphis was handed elevated status in 2019 only because the tour lost its sponsor at Firestone in Ohio and needed somewhere to put the event, and it became the playoff opener in 2022 when a different sponsor walked away. The FedEx deal that pays for the tournament, the points race, and the playoffs expires at the end of next year. The next headline in today's sports section reads, under the NBA banner, reads Christmas Day Unwrapped by Scooby Axon. In addition to its 2026-27 season opener triple header, the NBA has revealed its much-anticipated Christmas Day schedule with 5 games. The ultimate present for NBA fans will feature a host of the league's marquee teams. The matchups, announced on August 11th, are highlighted by LeBron James' return to Los Angeles to face his former team, the Lakers. If he plays, it will be James' 21st appearance on Christmas Day. James has averaged 26.3 points, 7.3 rebounds, and 7.1 assists in his previous 20 appearances on the holiday. The Knicks will be making their 6th straight appearance on Christmas and their 59th overall, while the Lakers are on the Christmas Day schedule for the 28th straight season. 2026-27 season Christmas Day matchups, all times in Eastern. San Antonio Spurs versus the New York Knicks at noon. Miami Heat versus the Boston Celtics, 2:30 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers versus Los Angeles Lakers, 5 p.m. Oklahoma City Thunder and Minnesota Timberwolves, 8 p.m. Denver Nuggets versus the Golden State Warriors at 10:30 p.m. The games will air on ABC and ESPN. The Charlotte Hornets continue their tradition of being the only NBA team to have ever played on Christmas Day. To have never played on Christmas Day. Christmas Day records. New York Knicks 26-32, Oklahoma City Thunder 6-15, San Antonio Spurs 5-7, Boston Celtics 17-21, Cleveland Cavaliers 7-8, Los Angeles Lakers 25-27, Philadelphia 76ers 20-15, Golden State Warriors 16-19, Denver Nuggets 4-7, Minnesota Timberwolves 2-2. The next headline reads, Champion Knicks set to face LeBron's 76ers in season tip-off by Scooby Axon. The New York Knicks will begin their defense of their NBA championship when they take on the Philadelphia 76ers to open the 2026-27 season on October 20th, a Tuesday at Madison Square Garden. The opening night schedule, which was revealed on NBC's Today Show, August 11th, has a triple header featuring NBA Finals MVP Jalen Brunson and the Knicks, who won their first NBA championship in 53 years with a 5-game finals triumph over the San Antonio Spurs. The game will be broadcast on NBC and Peacock. The day begins with the Boston Celtics visiting the Detroit Pistons, tipping off at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Both teams suffered epic flameouts in the playoffs last season. Boston lost in 7 games in the first round to the 76ers, and Detroit, as the Eastern Conference's #1 seed, also lost in 7 games, but in the second round to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Knicks will hold their championship banner ceremony after tipping off against the Sixers and new addition LeBron James at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The nightcap will match Oklahoma City Thunder against the Spurs in San Antonio. New York expects to bring back its starting five of Brunson, Michael Bridges, Josh Hart, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns for a chance at the back-to-back championships. There have been 8 different champions in the last 8 seasons, with the Golden State Warriors being the last to repeat in 2017 and 2018. Philadelphia, which hasn't won an NBA title since 1983, brings star power that could challenge the Knicks in the East with the acquisition of Jaylen Brown from the Celtics and the signing of James, the NBA's all-time leading scorer, who will turn 42 in December. Tyrese Maxey, who averaged 28.3 points and 6.6 assists last season, and oft-injured former MVP Joel Embiid provide the 76ers with a top-heavy roster that hopes to compete for a title. Meanwhile, the Spurs will take on the Thunder in a rematch of the Western Conference Finals, which San Antonio won in a 7-game thriller. Thunder guard Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, winner of the last 2 NBA Most Valuable Player awards, and Spurs star Victor Wembanyama, the unanimous Defensive Player of the Year, highlight this matchup of division winners. Other highlights of the league's first week slate of games include stars who were traded in the offseason. The 2-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo and LaMelo Ball, who was dealt to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Antetokounmpo, who led the Milwaukee Bucks to the 2021 title and was shipped to Miami in a blockbuster trade, will make his Heat debut in their season opener against Ball, Anthony Edwards, and the Timberwolves on October 21st in a game televised by ESPN. The Lakers and Golden State Warriors renew their Pacific Division pleasantries later that night from Crypto.com Arena in Los Angeles. The 76ers' home debut will come against Donovan Mitchell and the Cavaliers on October 22nd, and Oklahoma City will host the Denver Nuggets on the same night. On October 23rd, Amazon Prime will feature a doubleheader with the Knicks at the Celtics and the Houston Rockets taking on the Spurs in Austin. The next headline falls under the Women's College Volleyball banner and reads, Nebraska ranked number 1 in preseason AVCA poll by John Liuzzi. Less than 2 weeks remain until the start of the women's college volleyball season, and anticipation continues to build. That excitement intensified August 10th with the release of the American Volleyball Coaches Association preseason poll. The Big Ten was well represented in the rankings, led by number 1 Nebraska. The conference placed 8 teams in the preseason poll, including 4 in the top 10, offering perhaps an early look at what's to come for the league as one of the nation's premier volleyball conferences this season. The Cornhuskers, who received 57 first-place votes, are entering their second season under Danny Busboom Kelly. It's the third time in the last 5 years that Nebraska, which is set to face number 2 Texas and number 17 Florida in 2 of the first 3 games, is entering the season as the top team in the nation. Speaking of the Longhorns, number 2 Texas is the highest-ranked SEC program in the poll, followed by Kentucky at number 3. The Wildcats, who edged the Longhorns as the preseason favorites in the SEC, returned a star-studded lineup of middle blocker Lizzie Carr, outside hitters Brooklyn DeLay and Morgan Geraghty, setter Cassie O'Brien, and libero Molly Tuozo. Olivia Babcock returns for her 4th season as an anchor of number 4 Pitt's rotation. The Panthers, who are looking for their 6th consecutive trip to the Final Four, came in 1 spot above Stanford, the highest-ranked representative out of the ACC. Meanwhile, reigning national champion Texas A&M came in at number 8. With that, here's a look at the first AVCA poll of the 2026 season. College volleyball preseason AVCA poll. First place votes in parentheses. Number 1, Nebraska, 57. Number 2, Texas, 1. Number 3, Kentucky, 4. Number 4, Pitt. Number 5, Stanford. Number 6, Wisconsin. Number 7, Louisville. 8, Texas A&M, 1. 9, Purdue. 10, Penn State. 11, SMU. 12, Arizona State. 13, Creighton. 14 Minnesota, 15 Kansas, 16 Indiana, 17 Florida, 18 TCU, 19 North Carolina, 20 Southern Cal, 21 Baylor, 22 Tennessee, 23 Colorado, 24 BYU, and 25 Oregon. The next headline reads, Athletic Director Shows Weakness by Walking Back Insult by Matt Hayes. So now Tommy McClellan wants everyone to know he screwed up. Shouldn't have said it. Now regrets it. Says he shouldn't have insulted rival Indiana when introduced as Purdue's new athletic director. To this I say he should have been fired for walking it back. What are we doing, Purdue? You're dying on the vine in the most competitive conference in college football, and your athletic director claws back a jab at bitter rival Indiana, said during his introductory news conference. If that's not bad enough, he does it with a weak statement during the Pat McAfee show on ESPN, which is sort of like going to the frat house party, walking up to the Texas Hold'em table, and doing your best Kent Dorfman. You guys playing cards? The last thing the world remembers about Purdue football is the late, great Joe Tiller, a man's man if there ever was one, and big man on campus quarterback Drew Brees, who was just inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Yeah, it's been that long, that painful, that forgettable. So McClellan shows up from Rice, where he impressively resuscitated a program on life support. He also spent time as deputy athletic director at Vanderbilt, which has forever been in the shadow of all things SEC football, but has begun to climb out of the hiring of football coach Clark Lee and athletic director Candace Story Lee. Lee arrived in 2020 and hired McClellan as her top lieutenant. She also hired Lee, whose first statement when hired was, "We can win a national title at Vanderbilt." And he didn't back off and apologize to Alabama and Georgia and LSU and every other blue blood in the conference. He just went to work to make it happen. And what do you know? Here we are 6 years later, and Vanderbilt is a problem for the SEC. Saying Vanderbilt, the longtime tomato can of the SEC, can win the national title, even though it hasn't won an SEC title as a charter member of the conference formed in 1932, is the Titanic of statements compared to the McClellan's SS Minnow. So yeah, Lee speaking national title relevance into existence isn't remotely close to McClellan's heat of the moment, get everyone fired up statement. If you don't want to win championships, go to Indiana. Even with the Hoosiers just completing the greatest turnaround in sports history by actually winning the national title. But I'm guessing Indiana coach Curt Cignetti got a kick out of it anyway. Not because the Hoosiers have beaten the bejesus out of Purdue in his 2 seasons, but because McClellan had the stones to say it. Cignetti, who was asked August 10th if he had any response to McClellan's comment. Not really, Cignetti said. Just like Cignetti had the temerity to proclaim, "Google me, I win," when asked if he thought he could win at Indiana, then the armpit of college football and the losingest program ever. Then Sig went out and won 27 of 29 games, and the big one. Imagine Jim Tressel walking on the court at Ohio State and declaring his football team will make fans proud when they play Michigan, and then walking it back a day later. That would go over about like you think it would in the great state of Ohio, Mr. Dorfman. This is college football, not tiddlywinks, and when you throw rivalries into the equation, it's damn near close to war. Imagine new UCLA coach Bob Chesney apologizing for saying the Bruins aren't backing down from anyone, much less Southern Cal. Or new Ole Miss coach Pete Golding apologized for saying the people of Oxford wouldn't piss on former coach Lane Kiffin right now. It wasn't that long ago that former Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh proclaimed the Wolverines would beat Ohio State or die trying. We sure as all get out didn't see Harbs claw it back a day later. Imagine being a student athlete at Purdue. McClellan makes his introductory news conference statement and you're pumped. Let's go, baby. You better believe it. We're coming. Then your leader, the man at the tip of the spear, shows up on McAfee, whose horn blows all over the planet with his tail between his legs, hat in hand. I made an offhand, unscripted comments about an in-state rival that didn't land well, McClellan told McAfee. I knew it the second it left my mouth. So did everyone at Purdue the second time around. Next headline reads, Indiana talks a big game but won't play a big name, by Blake Topmeyer. The Indiana Hoosiers don't operate a hype machine, and they don't whine like the fellas do in the South. But boy, the Hoosiers sure know how to duck and run. True to its nature, Indiana last week dumped a future home-and-home football series in Notre Dame. Indiana, according to multiple reports, requested out of the series. Neither school's athletic department officially confirmed who triggered the cancellation, but this elimination of the Indiana-Notre Dame game scheduled for 2030 and 31 aligns with the Hoosiers' non-conference scheduling policy of avoiding opponents with a pulse. Indiana, like a few of its Big Ten peers, embraces the path of least resistance. The Hoosiers don't have a Power 4 non-conference opponent scheduled in any of the next several seasons. Seek the meek, beat the meek. That's Indiana's scheduling philosophy. That mindset made sense when Indiana's administration was trying to figure out how to make a bowl game. But now, Indiana employs big bad, braggadocious Curt Cignetti, he of college football's first 16-0 team. You're telling me Sigs and the boys can't handle playing someone stiffer than North Texas, Howard, and Western Kentucky this September? Or Austin, PA, Eastern Michigan, and Miami of Ohio next year? If you're going to ooze conceit, as Cignetti does, then you shouldn't schedule like you're scared this Indiana revelation is a mirage. Indiana avoids tough opponents in non-conference schedule. The next Power 4 non-conference opponent Indiana schedules and doesn't cancel during Cignetti's tenure will be the first. Notre Dame catches a lot of schedule flack, but the Irish replaced Indiana with Southern Cal. No word yet on who will replace Notre Dame on Indiana's schedule, but Cignetti's bosses probably already checked on the availability of Southwest Cupcake State or Cannoli Tech to join Indiana State and Delaware on the 2030 non-conference schedule. What's Indiana's schedule look like in real time? Consider Week 2. That Saturday, Ohio State will play Texas in a battle of war chests, Michigan will square off against blue-blooded Oklahoma, and Indiana will try to hang 100 on Howard. Indiana's overmatched non-conference opponents didn't fall out of a coconut tree. The Hoosiers brazenly scheduled them, exploiting Big Ten rules that allow members to play 3 cupcakes in addition to 9 conference games. Admire Curt Cignetti's coaching, but loathe Indiana's scheduling. There's a lot to admire about Cignetti's coaching and ingenuity. I enjoy his swagger, too. He put on a rhetorical masterclass recently when he mocked the SEC without ever saying the name of Big Ten's rival conference. We don't run a hype machine up here in the Midwest, Cignetti said. We believe everything is earned, not given. When we fall short, we say we fell short. We don't cry a river, whine, and complain. That's why we're the best. In the South, they'd say Indiana's run-and-hide scheduling philosophy helped them build college football's best record. That criticism has merit, and now Indiana has dumped Notre Dame mere days after Cignetti's tough talk at the mic. I commend Cignetti's warp-speed renaissance in Indiana. I loathe his contentedness to play a feeble non-conference schedule. Indiana's scheduling mindset predates Cignetti, but this Notre Dame cancellation happened under his watch. Anyways, when you're the $13 million coach and the big man on campus like Cignetti, nobody would stop him from updating Indiana's cupcake philosophy and adding a little more beef. Cignetti wants no part of that. He's made that clear. I'm more focused in those 9 conference games, he said last year. He's not the only coach who would seek the meek if left to their own devices. That's where conference bylaws should step in and erect a roadblock to a full-fledged cupcake feast. The SEC, Big 12, and ACC require their membership to play at least one non-conference opponent from either the Power 4 or Notre Dame. The Big 10 has no such requirement. Its members are permitted to feast on 3 yummy confections from either the football championship series or group of 6. The SEC, Big 12, and ACC limit their membership to 2 such games after the SEC and ACC updated their scheduling rules before this season. Some Big Ten schools still choose to play one big boy non-conference game. Others, like Penn State and Nebraska, join the Hoosiers in scheduling a slapstick trio for September. Blame Indiana for its schedule. It chose this. Blame the Big Ten's rules, too. It allowed this. Just remember, Hoosiers, no crying if the selection committee takes one look at your strength of schedule and laughs. You can either whine and complain about how tough your schedule is, like they do in the SEC, or you can duck and run. You can't do both. You're listening to a reading of today's issue of the USA Today on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. The time is 49 minutes after the hour. The next headline reads, Gauff Pegula addressed WTA gene testing by Danielle Lerner. American tennis star Coco Gauff weighed in on the World Tennis Association's new sex testing requirement for players, saying she understands the desire to create fair competition while also expressing her support for the transgender community. Gauff, the world number 4 ranked singles player, is competing in the National Bank Open in Toronto, a 13-day tournament that started last week. She answered a question about the policy after her second-round win against fellow American Kayla Day on August 5th. Quote, I understand the reasoning behind it, and I do think this kind of conversation has created a lot of animosity towards the trans community, which I'm not really a big fan of. But I also understand the, biological difference and the need to protect that and preserve that, Gauff said. So I think it's a conversation that is very nuanced, and I need to have a nuanced answer. So yes, I kind of agree with trying to protect the fairness in women's sports, but also do not like the attack that it is creating by people who don't really care but just want to use this as a reason to attack the trans community. I don't really know how to answer this question in a way that people aren't going to spin it. But as far as where I stand, I definitely support the trans community, but I also support the need of creating fairness in sport too. Gauff was set to play in the tournament quarterfinals August 11th. Testing expected to start this month. The WTA changed its gender eligibility policy July 21st, requiring all players to take a one-time SRY gene test. The test, done by a blood sample or cheek swab, checks for the presence of a gene found on the Y chromosome associated with a typical male sex development. If a player tests positive, they will be ineligible to compete unless they can prove to the satisfaction of the WTA medical personnel that they have complete androgen insensitivity syndrome or another developmental sex disorder. The policy states that players can appeal decisions in state or federal court located in St. Petersburg, Florida, the WTA's principal place of business. They can also appeal to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, an independent authority based in Switzerland that resolves international sports disputes. The International Olympic Committee recently brought back SRY gene testing for Olympic athletes, even though the method was discontinued in the 1990s after tests sometimes produced positive results for women who were intersex or had chromosomal disorders. Under the WTA's former policy, transgender and non-binary women were allowed to compete against other women as long as they maintained blood testosterone levels below 2.5 nanomoles per liter for a specific period. There has not been an openly transgender player in professional tennis since Renee Richards, who competed on the women's tour from 1977 to 1981. Since 2025, multiple international sports federations, including the IOC, have changed their eligibility policies to prevent transgender women from competing in the women's category. The WTA is not affiliated with the Olympics, a separate organization. World Tennis is the sport's global governing body, but cited recent trends in its updated policy. Quote, since first being introduced in 1975, the eligibility policy has undergone periodic review in light of developments across international sport, the WTA policy says. Following the most recent review, which included consultation with WTA members and evolving standards across women's sports, the WTA board approved an updated WTA women's eligibility policy beginning in 2026 based on biological sex. Gauff said the WTA's policy change came as a surprise to some of her fellow competitors on tour. Quote, I know it's been something that's been talked about for a while, but I've talked to a couple other players and a lot of them didn't find out until the press release, Gauff said. So I do think that's something that could have been more transparent amongst players across the tour. World number 3 Jessica Pegula, the highest ranked American woman, said on August 5th that she was told the WTA will begin testing players at the Cincinnati Open, which started August 8th and runs to the 23rd. Pegula, a member of the WTA Players Council, said players received education about the policy and she's heard no pushback from players. Quote, "It wasn't just kind of laid on us like, you have to do this. There's a lot of education and stuff in the background of all the stuff players have had to do to learn about it," said Pegula, who lost in the round of 16 on August 8th. "I think the WTA just wanted to update their policy based on what they've seen from other sporting organizations. So far, at least from my point of view, I don't really have any pushback on it. Even being on council, no players have really mentioned or said anything about it. I think that we'll see now that we're here in Toronto, a bigger tournament, and going into Cincy when the testing starts. We'll see if there's any more feedback." USA Today reached out to WTA for additional specifics on its testing schedule, but has not yet heard back. Moving to the life section of USA Today, there's a quote up on the front page under the banner that "They Said What?" And it's by Brad Pitt. And the quote is, "I walked foolishly head-on into a Mack truck because of my optimism." Brad Pitt, in a recent interview with Esquire, the actor, 62, who's been engaged in a legal battle for years with his ex-wife Angelina Jolie, opened up about his mental health journey amid the personal drama. "I was never suicidal in any way. It just was not my makeup," he added. "In fact, if I have any afflictions, it's probably being a congenital optimist." You've been listening to a reading of the USA Today for Wednesday, August 12th, 2026. We read the USA Today weekdays at noon. For more information, call us at 716-821-5555. Your reader for this hour has been David Frothingham. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have episode number 8 of Wayward Girls by Susan Wiggs. At 3 o'clock is Healthy Living, and at 4 o'clock is a re-airing of today's Buffalo News. Stay with us. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability.